All right, we're in. In the first cabinet. Hello. The Mosquito Beach one, I gave you the link. When you click the down arrow, it'll you pick food or food truck, and then it'll allow you to pay straight through there. And you could put the date that you want to start and stuff like that. The other one, you can just cash at me and I'll send you a receipt. You can Venmo me too. I'm pretty sure there should be something out there. A lady just tried, she said she wanted to sign up. She has alcoholic popcorn though, which is strange as hell. I definitely see that. Yeah, just tell them go ahead and sign up. I'm about to go into a Zoom meeting, so I'll call you back.
Okay, so we on.
Your thing, oh.
Hey, can y'all hear me? Okay, so what I don't have, I do not currently have ownership. Wait a minute, it says it's Keller Williams, Charleston, Mount Pleasant. So I logged in. I'm trying to get to where I can share my screen. So y'all just give me a few minutes because I need to be able to share my screen, and I thought I logged in as I'm supposed to. So over all of this.
Hello,
Hey, Tiffany.
it's Kristen.
Kristen, hey, I'm logged in as Keller Williams. But it still wouldn't let me share the screen.
It's because you're on Mount Pleasant and it's under ours on this one.
I must have misunderstood the email. I thought this one was under Mount Pleasant's.
I think sometimes, so we can talk after it, but I'll make you host. That way you're good to go. And then we'll figure it out going forward.
But here's my question. If I had just put in your credentials, it'd have been fine, right?
If you put in our offices.
Right, okay.
West Ashley.
So what I did is I just guessed incorrectly, but I figured it out. I just went to the wrong one.
Yes.
Okay, just because I have
Okay.
saved now, then I was like, wait a minute, I don't even know how to log in. Okay, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
You got it. All right, y'all.
All right. Woo. I tell y'all what, technology is going to be the death of me. Okay, welcome. I'm so glad everyone's here. My hair is wet. This has been one of those days that my AC guy had to come, and of course he ran late. So then I couldn't get in the shower. So at least I don't have a cat on my head. I guess that's the only good thing, you know? Okay, so we are here to talk about the buyer consultation. And typically I actually give everyone 5 minutes or give the class 5 minutes for everyone to get here. So it's been 5 minutes, so I'll go ahead and kind of get started. So the purpose of today's class, which a few of you have heard me say in disjointed ways, is that basically having a buyer consultation is equally important, if not more important, in my opinion, than a listing packet. Because if you want to be a listing agent, the faster you can get your buyers under contract, then you can get back to lead generating for listings, right? So to be a top listing agent, unless you don't want to work with buyers, then you have to have a book of business that goes quickly and that you are in control of so that you can run your listing business. So in that vein, this class came about because, scoot that back a little, because I got started with real estate in 2000 and Christy, I muted you just because there was some feedback, but if you need anything, let me know. I got started in 2008. Joseph and I were newlyweds and he was a team leader. So I was doing both sides of the business. I worked buyers and sellers, and I took Ignite and I followed all the rules and did everything that y'all are probably doing right now. And then 2 years into that business, Joseph came to me and was like, I really kind of want to get back into sales because I just have enjoyed helping you do your stuff, right? So he resigned from the team leader position, and that's when we started Salt Marsh Properties. And we had a quick discussion that took about 2 weeks. I started out as the listing agent and then saw that I don't think he was not going to be as good with buyers as I was based on my skill set. Some of y'all have been some of my classes, that all of my careers leading up to real estate were all based in law. It was legal. I worked with a lot of lawyers downtown. And I mean, what's the word? Attention to detail, systems, organization, everything is so important in the legal field. And I just now had been trained. So I learned that I had a more natural system with buyers than Joseph did. So we swapped. And after 2 weeks, I became a buyer's agent, and I've been only a buyer's agent since 2010. And Joseph's our listing agent. And so then I realized that a lot of agents out there aren't using systems for buyers. They're just kind of doing the best they can, but really focused on the listing system. So I just started teaching the class, and then it's just turned into a permanent class. So I give you all that information because as we go through the next hour and a half, it normally takes that long because people ask questions. I love y'all engaging. I go through it very thoroughly, explain to you the method behind my madness. I give you good scripts. I give you advice. I give you suggestions. I tell you some things I've learned from my own mistakes. So if you have a system, then use your system. But if you don't, or want to compare to mine or take mine, that's what this class is all about, is basically saying take it and use it. Now, this class is a lot of me teaching, and you're going to follow with me on my screen. I'm going to, share my screen, and we're going to go through stuff. So has everyone downloaded what I emailed today? I emailed to all the offices, the documents. If you didn't download it, that's fine. I just mean, can you make notes to it? Because there's going to be a lot of note taking on those documents. That's the first thing you need. You need the buyer. It's called the buyer needs analysis. You're going to hear me say buyer questionnaire a lot. That's just because what I call mine that. Those are the same thing, questionnaire and buyer needs analysis. And then there's a buyer guide. Those two things, plus a couple of others, will make up your buyer packet. But you have homework following this class, and this is important. So I have a system of emails because when I realized probably a year after working that I was starting the same email over and over and over. And I was like, why don't you just take a day and create an email template for all the emails you've ever written from the start of meeting a buyer until 5 days after it closes. So that's what I did. It used to be on a Word document, and then I moved it to a Google Doc. So now all the attendees of this class can get that system from me. So you have all my emails labeled as they're labeled, and I'll give you kind of a snapshot. I'll show those to you a little bit later. So your homework is you have to go through to get that stuff because it's valuable. You have to go through this class. You have to be part of just listening to how I run my business so that you can say, okay, I can do that. And then do the homework where you send me on your own time frame. You send me your buyer questionnaire and your guide. Let me review it, make sure it looks professional, make sure you've made the proper edits, and that I know that you're going to be starting off on the right foot with buyers. And then once I see that you have your packet ready to go, and that you listened to what I said and you kind of absorbed it, because a lot of real estate is more than just being a robot. It's about being able to be discerning. Once I see that you've done it and I made some edits or said, great job, then I share with you that Google Doc. So I just want to be sure because my system references some of these documents. So it sometimes won't make sense if you don't use the packet to begin with. Okay. So everybody, it looks like they're muted. So if you want to ask any questions before I get started, feel free. Does anyone have any questions, want to say anything before we get started? Okay, then I will get going. Okay, the first thing that y'all should have printed out or have in front of you is the agent list of steps. So go ahead and pull that forward or bring it where you can look at it. And I'm going to go pull it up on my end and then share my screen. Hold on, teaching. There we go. All right. So depending on your book of business, you may or may not have. So this, it's in a bigger, whatever the word is, bigger view. I'm gonna try to zoom in a little, but it's 2 pages. So if I scroll, it might change. I'll go back. But anyway, depending on where you get your leads, it might be internet lead, it might be an agent referral, it might be a past client, a signed call. However you get your buyer lead, that is the beginning. So you get your buyer lead somehow, and hopefully you've gotten a phone number, an email, and a name. Those are the three things you really need to effectively follow this system. What that means is you're going to get buyers who might not give you any of that information, right? So they're not technically leads until you can somehow send them something. So to start at the very top, that's why I have buyer referral information sent to the agent. So any way that comes at you, that's the information. You have two immediate action items. You're going to send a thank you note to the referrer. That could be a past client, so it's not always an agent, right? So here's a sidebar where you might want to write a note. Take notes, of course, is that it is so important to try to get the mailing address of anyone who sends you a referral, because throughout the year, you might want to continue to send them thank you notes, or maybe every summer you send them a little packet of sunscreen, and it's like a reminder that you're an agent in Charleston. If it's a past client, then you could do a pop by if they live in the area. So anyway, thank you note sent to the referral gets you a mailing address and kicks off the whole gratitude portion of the activity. Whether or not that buyer goes to fruition is not important, because the fact they've sent you a referral, that's the key. Okay. So this document that you're looking at that I've sent to you, y'all can print out. I took it and made it into a checkbox so that you have a checklist. That way, as you go through your own book of business, you could literally either retype it, because, well, it's a PDF. I think you can edit PDFs now, but like if every time you just put John Smith on the very top, and then you could just track your time with John, use this if you'd like. But I had to, I took our Saltmarsh Properties procedures and created an operations manual, and I had to pull this out. And I said, I'm gonna make it into a checklist so that when I teach, people can use it. So this is for you to be thorough. You want to know when you got their information. You want to know when you sent a thank you. And here's the important thing of knowing when you got the information. If you are not having good conversion on your buyers and you're tracking, then you go back, and if it looks like that you got their information but then didn't send an email until 24 hours later or whatever, then you're learning, oh, my response and follow-up is probably why I'm not getting the client, right? Or if you are responding quickly, but you're still not getting a good conversion at any point, then you might need to go back and learn better scripts, that kind of thing. So the tracking dates will help you be able to track your book of business. And I'd give it, 90 days, 6 months to really know if you have an issue or not, but start with tracking the dates. Okay. So I reach out, once I get a buyer lead, I reach out twice. And I'm very methodical. You'll notice the first thing I do is I email them. And then the second thing I do is I send them a phone call. So on my email to them, I basically, this is one of my email in my email system. It's literally labeled buyer first email intro. In that email, I have attached my questionnaire, a very basic Charleston map I downloaded, my vendor list. So it's Saltmarsh Properties vendor list, a locals guide. So I just sat for a day, another time in my career, and said, I need to have a document that spells out the heart of every area and gives 3 or 4 businesses to kind of locate. So, I did a couple in the Old Village, a couple in Avondale, a couple in James Island, a couple in Folly, Somerville, Nexton, farmers markets, marinas, boat ramps, golf courses, school systems. I did a lot of links to that. I'll go into that further, but I basically created a very brief Chamber of Commerce type of document that goes with my email if they're not local, to just go ahead and wow them a little bit. So that's what's called my locals guide. It literally is a PDF that was originally a Microsoft document. Like, that's how simple it is. A lot of people have been sending me their guides and stuff after this class, and they're using Canva and all these beautiful things. Let me say, y'all have really impressed me. Mine is super boring. However, if you're not super artsy, then just get on a piece of paper, convert it to a PDF, throw up a couple of your logos. That will work too. I do a bundle of South Carolina sample contracts so that they get to see. I send them all blank PDF bundle of the contract, the buyer agency, the agency brochure. That might be it, because now the contract includes the due diligence and all of that. So I send them a blank bundle of contracts, and then the guide to buying a home, which is one of the things we're editing today. So my email is canned. It is a canned email that goes to them, that's explaining to them who I am, why I'm sending this email, and what's attached. And then it asks for a first meeting. And I start talking in that email about my consultation. Again, you'll get this email if you do the homework, or you'll get these set of emails. And in this canned email, I literally have, like, in italics, if they are local, paragraph, if they are renting, paragraph. And so you have to be smart enough to pay attention and go read. If you do your homework and get my emails, be smart and go read everything, because if you send it all, it's going to make you look unprofessional, because I have to go in and edit everyone, but at least I'm not rewriting the whole thing 30 times, you know? So after I send the email, I might wait an hour and a half and then call them. I might even wait 10 minutes. However, there's a very specific reason I do that. My phone call, in the email, it says, I'm going to call you. However, if we miss each other, I didn't want to not connect with you on some level. So here's how I learned my script for that phone call became this script after I learned that not doing it this way put them in control. Because what used to be my process is I'd get the referral information, I'd make a phone call no matter where I was, and would immediately be like, well, I need to find a pen and paper. Oh, you're telling me everything. What? Hold on. I realized that they were like, they just started spouting everything that they wanted to tell me. I lost control. So I learned, you know what? I'm not going to call them first anymore. I'm going to, but I have to have items of value that are really important so that I don't look like an idiot, you know? So what I do now, like I said, is I send this email. And if you don't have their email, we can talk about that later. Obviously, you can't send an email first. But I call them and say, hey, this is my voicemail script. Hey, Joe, this is Lynn. I'm sorry I missed you. I was told to give you a call that you're interested in working in or buying real estate in Charleston. I'm a buyer's agent on the Saltmarsh team. I have sent you an email with a couple of resources that are going to be important for our consultation. So if you get this voicemail and you just want to, if you don't have time to call back, you can go check your email and you have everything you need to start the process with my team. Then you'll see where I'm asking us to set up a time to talk, and that can be at your convenience. We can do it in person or on the phone, whatever. My schedule is your schedule. And I just want to make sure, though, that if it takes a day or two to connect, that you have something immediately to understand about our team and can start telling me what you want. So anyway, I look forward to connecting. My number is this, and look for my email. It's Lynn at Saltmarsh Properties. You know, have a good day. That's my voicemail. If they answer the phone, even if I'm sitting there reading a book, I will say, hey, Joe, this is Lynn with Saltmarsh Properties. I was told to give you a call. And so I wanted to connect with you really quickly. I'm about to walk into a meeting, so I don't have time to sit down and properly focus on a conversation. However, I have sent you an email that's going to be what we go over when we consult. So if you go find your email, you'll see I have about 5 or 6 documents. Sidebar to you guys, agents. Obviously, if I know they're local, then I'm not sending them the locals guide or the vendor or the Charleston map. So keep in mind those documents can be modified depending on what I know about the buyer. If I haven't been told a lot of information, then I'll just simply say, I wasn't told if you're local or not. So just to be safe, I sent you everything. It just makes me look good to have, 6 items, right? So anyway, back to the live call, I say, I'm about to walk into a meeting. However, I wanted you to know there was a person with the name. If you will, go take a look at those documents, and either we can take a minute to schedule the time to have a consultation, or you can email me back if there are multiple people buying with you, so that we get everyone on the same calendar. My calendar is your calendar, but because I work with a lot of buyers, sometimes my days can be, a couple hours in the car. I didn't want you to not hear from me. And that's how I start off in control. They don't start telling me everything. And I say, I look forward to setting an appointment. Okay, so that's the method to my madness, why an email always goes first. A lot of people do texting. I'm not addressing texting right now because I am not and have never gotten in the habit of kicking off my relationship via text with a buyer. You're teaching them bad habits and you're putting yourself in a little bit of a bind. We'll go into that more because a lot of people rely on texting now, and I suggest not to, and that you don't have to. You can text things like be there in 5, running late, here's the number of the inspector, but not anything as it relates to real estate, because the bad news there is then they might start texting you how to negotiate or how to respond to a contract. And you just would not be very professional if you didn't have a conversation and teach your clients that a text does not suffice when it comes to committing to thousands of dollars. So it's more of a texting should be a supplement to your business. It should not be your business. Unfortunately, we've gotten a little bit backwards lately, but I'm so old school, I still teach this. Okay, so you've had the email, you've had the phone call. Again, you have when it was completed and the date. The reason that's important is you might send them an email and leave them a voicemail, and you've got to go put on your calendar in a day. I put a lot of things on my calendar, like, did you hear back from Joe? So the next day I'll go say, oh, I haven't heard from him again. So then I might send a text, say, just checking in to make sure you got everything you needed from me in case emailing or phone calling is not your preference. Again, during the consultation, I address all this with this client and I get back in control, but I'm just saying, follow up on text, that kind of thing is okay if you haven't heard from them because maybe they are a texter. But when it comes to your real estate business, I wouldn't allow them to dictate that. Okay, so you have these dates now, right? You're tracking along, moving on. You hear back from them, you set the appointment, and then you say, okay, great. Now we can do Zoom. You can do it on, I've done thousands just on the phone because a lot of my clients don't live in the area. So you could do it on the phone. You don't have to do a Zoom, but now with the beauty and the love of Zoom, it's like an in-person meeting. I prefer an in-person meeting. So take that for whatever you will and do what your client might be comfortable with. Okay. So you sit down, you have a consultation. This class is going to be on that in a minute. All right. So you've had your consultation. You have gone over all the ins and outs of the next steps and what's going to happen. That is when you, again, start tracking. You make sure you determine in that consultation if they are an A, B, or C buyer. Obviously an A buyer might be buying in the next 60 days. A B buyer is like 90 days to 3 months. And then a C buyer is like 6 months. Did I say 3 months? You know what I'm saying? 3 months on or 6 months on. You need to identify where they are in that process so that you know exactly when to get a calendar going. And part of your consultation is explaining to them the process of a 45-day financing. So if they want to close July 1, they've got to be under contract by May 15th. Yes. So it's closer than they think. You know what I'm saying? So anyway, you'll talk about all that, but your consultation sets the tone, it sets the calendar, and then you're going to send a follow-up email that's called, so we'll scoot down to completed, dates on calendar, agent homework completed, client homework completed. In the canned email, hold on. Okay, so you have the consultation, and part of that conversation is explaining that they're going to have homework and you're going to have homework. Then your follow-up email actually recaps that. So those two kind of go almost immediately together, but I wanted to put a check mark so that if you ended up getting together sooner, like let's say you talk to an agent a client who already has a pre-approval, then their homework is somewhat completed, right? If the agent homework is you have to go set them up or send them some real estate listings from the MLS immediately following the phone call, and you've done all that, then you can track, okay, I did what I was supposed to do. They did what they were supposed to do. It's important that you have a line item for that because I've experienced where I'll have a consultation, then they have some work to do. I need a pre-approval. I also need like calendars to go look at property. And I'll hang up the phone. I'll send them the second email post consult, which recaps everything that we just talked about. And again, this is a canned email with italics that I will modify for them. Like, so if it's a cash purchase, then obviously their time frame won't be 45 days. It might be 2 weeks. And so I have to edit that a little bit. But part of that email is saying, here's your homework, here's what you're doing, and here's what I'm doing. I have had people who don't get to me the pre-approval. They don't do their homework for me. They don't send me a calendar of when they can go look at properties. And then within 24 hours, I've got a text, I want to go see this house. And your natural instinct is to be like, okay, let's go see this house. If you don't have your system and you're not tracking your system, you don't really know that they can afford that house because you don't have a pre-approval from them that a loan officer has said, yes, you're good for this number. And we'll talk about that script when you're consulting with them, but you don't go look at any properties, not because without a pre-approval, not because you're trying to be a hard behind about it, but because what if they think their price point is $275 because they did it online? And then they talk to someone and they actually have very aggressive retirement plans and they don't want to spend more than $1,200 a month, then that's a very different house price. And then y'all have gone and looked at a house that they're not going to buy and they're now disappointed and think everything at 235 to 240 suck, you know? So you don't want to put them in that position. And that is part of your script. I don't want to take you to anything that might be a little over your fence so that you're not disappointed. So when that person texts you to say, hey, I'm going to go see this house, then you can go back and see, okay, I sent them the post consult email. I asked for their homework. I haven't gotten anything. And that's where you're able to text back or call and say, because be careful with texting tone, right? But I would never text back. I'd be like, I'm gonna call you about this. And then I would call, and if they don't answer, I'll leave a message and say, hey, I would love to go see this property. I just need to be sure. Sometimes these homes need 24-hour notice. I need to check on those instructions. I need to know when you're available and a couple more windows that are available in case the seller can't make it work. And then I want to be sure that when we see this house, you're not going to hear that you're going to prefer a more conservative budget. And then we've gone a little bit over your fence. So give me a call back and let's talk about that. But yeah, let's get out and go see it as soon as we get all this done. So I remain eager to get them out there, but I'm constantly the professional and keeping them in line like a child to what they should be doing. Okay. So that's, again, the method to the madness of me sending a recap email within 24 hours, because if I don't send them a recap for homework for 3 days, then I'm not doing my job. So if I send them something that sets out what they have to do before we look at properties, then it's on them to get that done, or else I'm not going to take them. And I have nice scripts about it, but it's very clear. All right, let's keep going. Then you're going to schedule the showings with the homes. Let me zoom out back. And then you're going to ask for 2 things, hopefully prior to getting out there. We just talked about it, the pre-approval, hopefully the buyer agency. This class is not about the buyer agency. So if you have a problem with that, or we have some time afterwards, we can talk about it. What I always say is it's not always a given that you're going to get a buyer agency at the conclusion of your consultation, because what if they're not buying for 6 months? I don't cram it down their throats. But if they do want to buy property and they want to do it soon, then I discuss the buyer agency, and I will just say, are you comfortable signing that prior to us going and looking? If you're not, let's please talk about it, because that is a fair conversation. Maybe you've had a bad experience. So again, you want to be a human in these conversations and don't be awkward about it, because they're talking to you because you're a real estate agent. I've had, one client who was like, by asking that question, I found out early that he was like, no, I just want a couple of different agents to bring me properties. And then whichever one brings me the right one gets the business. And I was like, so nice meeting you. I don't want to work with you. So you need to kind of ask those questions. And I say that sarcastically to y'all, but I remember thinking, good for you. And whatever agent wants to work in that Russian roulette, sorry for them. I'm not going to do it. My career is not based on that. So I would say something like, oh, I understand that plan. However, It's a lot of time and energy for me to go find you properties and set up showings and do all that kind of stuff. So I think I have really built my business on loyalty and getting that figured out kind of in the beginning. So I'd like to part ways nicely and say, I don't think that's going to work for me. But if you go through a couple of agents and you don't feel it's a very professional experience, call me back, because you will get that with me. So I manage it in a way that's totally respectful and totally fine with that. I had another client who refused to sign the buyer agency, and he was referred from an agent. So I was like, I've got to get around this. So I will always get referrals from this agent. So he was kind of a bully type personality. So I just said, I was like, why won't you sign it? And he's like, because I'm not signing anything, not until I know there's value. Blah, blah, blah. Like he just wanted to be, top dog. And I have a high D personality. So that just makes me really comfortable coming back at him. So I was like, okay. I was like, so let me just repeat back to you the relationship that we're getting into. You're going to ask me to drive your family around, take time away from mine to make sure that we find you the house that you want, negotiate and all that. But you want me to do that without any guarantee that you're going to be loyal. As long as you understand what you're asking of me and I'm agreeing to do that without any reassurance from you that you'll be loyal, then I expect you to do the right thing and have honor whenever the time comes. So if you're good with that, I'm good with that. And we moved on, and I showed them the first round of properties. And the whole time I was, thinking in the back of my head, I could be on the boat right now with Joseph. I don't even know if this guy is going to, because it was like a Saturday. I don't even know if this guy is going to work with me. But sometimes you just kind of have to do that. And we parted ways that day. And he walked out on a new construction lot, and evidently the agent called me and said, your client came out here, and before I even get welcome to the office, he said, I have an agent. Her name is Lynn Klosick. So I was like, oh, okay. So he talks tough, but when I kind of held him accountable to doing the right thing, he did do the right thing. So helped him buy new construction. He was really hard on everyone. That was just his personality. But there are a couple ways to skin the cat, so to speak, as it relates to the buyer agency. So if that is something you want to be better at doing, find the classes where they talk about it, or get with a seasoned agent like me or someone, and I can give you those scripts and you just work on those scripts with other people. So I took a little bit of time to go over that because I know some of y'all are new, and I just want to say it can be uncomfortable, and then other people are like, sure, send it to me, whatever. So you're going to have both sides of the coin there. But before you show property, try to have the agency as the final message. All right. This next page, I'm not talking about today because that's not what this class is about, but it is still part of your checklist. So there you go. You have a checklist to be able to enjoy as you go through your whole process. All right. So now what we're going to do, take a minute if you want to ask some questions, but then we're going to move on to start editing our documents so that you have what you need. And like I told y'all, there's a lot of me talking in this because I'm like giving you information. But I'm happy to answer questions or be interrupted. Just like raise your hand or something, and I'll say, get to you in a minute. Everyone good? You ready to move forward?
I have
Okay.
a couple questions.
Yeah, sure.
Sit down. Back up to the buyer agents kind of consultation. Can you just explain a little more of what the agent and client homework would be, or is that included in the second email post consult? Or I
Yes.
guess what's the difference?
The client homework and the agent homework is what you're going to determine in the consultation. So it's a moving target, so to speak. They might say, no, I don't even have a loan officer. So then your homework might be, well, let me send you my vendor list, or go back and find my vendor list with my information, right? Every client might have a little bit different need. They also might have to come into the area first. I've had plenty of people who are like, I don't even know Charleston. I just think it sounds cool. So I'll be like, okay, so your first thing is you have to come in and spend a day or two and get to know the area. So that's what I mean. It can be different levels of homework. Then when I hang up the phone with them, I have literally, your homework, my homework, and I will have been taking notes the whole time we're talking, and I'll just compute that into an email. All right. Do you have another question?
Nope, I'm good. Thank you.
All right. Anyone else have any questions? Okie dokie. What I want you to pull up now is this is the more, hold on, let me pull it up myself. Buyer needs analysis editable. Nope, not that one. This is the one it's gonna have a ton of edits, but I promise you it's gonna be worth it because what I sent to y'all is so long. And I have learned over time that a buyer doesn't need that much information. And let me explain that. After I get this done, I can't do 3 things at once. All right. This is the document that you're going to want to see. My notes are not on your document. You're going to see my notes as I go through them. So does everyone see your brand in red? Okay, then I'm on the right screen. Okay. Here's the disclaimer on this next section. All of this, everything in this document is awesome. Everything in the buyer guide is awesome. However, when I send them ahead of time, I want it to be not overwhelming, right? I want them to get a document and literally not be like, well, I'm not going through this. It's 28 pages. So what I did is I decided to create a packet that was my introduction. So my buyer questionnaire is about the agent, me, and about the client. So I took some information and pulled it out of like the buyer guide and some other places, and I moved it and kept it in my buyer questionnaire called the buyer needs analysis, because I wanted the questionnaire, my SMP, Salt Marsh Properties questionnaire, to be salesy somewhat. I wanted the buyer guide to literally just be what it is to buy a house in South Carolina. Because if I met someone who was a little reticent about engaging with me on a high level, I would say something like, I have a document that basically just walks you through the steps of what it is to buy in South Carolina. Nothing about me, nothing about signing. It just tells you how to buy. Then I could get their email, and then it would start the ability for me to build rapport. So I wanted 2 documents, one that was just like a little bit of a tease to say, let me just send you this resource if you don't know what it is to buy in South Carolina. And then the other one was a little bit more heavy-handed on what it is to work with me, why you should choose me, and then what I'm going to do for you. Okay. So going back to my original conversation when this class started, this is simply how I run my book of business and my buyers. It is nothing that you have to do. This is not Keller Williams approved. I've made edits to what is Keller Williams approved. However, I did that on purpose because I think it was too much and it gave the buyer way too much leeway. So you'll hear me say a few times, this is a fantastic question, but I don't have it on my mail ahead of time questionnaire because it does not need to show up yet. It can come later in the consultation. So y'all just work with me, stop me with any questions. All right, let's get started. So take your notes as I go through. I'm gonna try to be fast. Obviously, I'm telling you here to put your brand. On my questionnaire, I have our names, our phone numbers, our emails, all that. So brand every page if possible, because if this ever were to get forwarded to someone like, hey, look at my agent, look what they're doing in Charleston, then your stuff is going across the internet. That's great marketing, or your information, okay? Again, buyer needs analysis. I don't like that it's 2 pages, but oh well. Let's go through page over here. I wanted to just make a note for y'all, if you want to pay attention to the categories you see and the spacing and the font. I saved so much space by just decreasing the size of font and not creating so many spaces to type in. Your questionnaire is going to be sent to them. I like my questionnaire to be editable so they can type in it. But I don't, because it's editable, I don't need to leave 3 and 4 gaps. It's going to move as they type. So I saved a ton of space and this document for me went from 8 pages to 4, and I actually added more information. And I'll show y'all a snapshot of my questionnaire later. All right. Here's what I think is good to keep. You do want the name of everyone and you want their preferred method of contacting. You don't need to take up half the page. So I have that in literally 1 sentence. Who's buying the house and what's your preferred method of contact? Why am I asking that question? I'm revisiting the text thing. If I read that someone, and a lot of people literally will send this back to you before they call you back. If you use this right, it'll change your life. because then all I do is pick up the phone and say, let's go over your guide, and I have all their answers. But anyway, if they say texting, then I know that I have to reach into my toolbox and use the script that gets them to understand that I'm not going to text with them. And I explain to them why that's a benefit to them. And that script is this. I say, hey, I noticed that you prefer texting. I want to go ahead and get on the same page about that, because I work with buyers. And I work with a lot of buyers. So whether or not you're a sole buyer's agent, you can still say, I work with a lot of buyers. That means I'm in my car a lot. I'm using my phone for the GPS. And also when I'm with clients, I don't text other people. I typically like maybe put it on airplane. So if you were to send me a text, I will either dismiss it because I have to get back to the main screen, or I will have to ignore it. And I could be in the car with a client for 4 hours and just completely forget to get back to you. So my best method, my running to-do list, is email. So let's say you want to ask me a question. You can text it to me, but make sure you also email it to me, because that will ensure that I'm going to get back to you. And then I'll say things like, is that okay? I don't want you to think that I'm ignoring you. I can just have really long days with clients. And I also could get at the end of my day and my head is mush. So I'd rather just get up in the morning and start fresh and email you back. So just understand the nature of my industry is that it might be delayed. So that's the beginning of me explaining to them how my system works, and they're going to fit into it. But I give them the impression that I'm going to let them, agree to it, meaning it's a non-negotiable for me, but I say it in a nice way where they're like, oh yeah, I totally get it. When Joseph and I first were married and doing this, I think the texting was happening. It wasn't like it is now. But they would call you late at night. So I'd have that conversation. And what I started to do, because I wasn't good at lying, is, I'm still not, hopefully, is I would put my phone in like the guest bedroom so that I could physically get out of the like, oh my gosh, they're calling and I'm ignoring them mentality. I would wake up the next day and literally be like, I had no idea you called. And I wanted to find out, am I going to lose business for this? Most of the time, those voicemails were like, oh my gosh, I just realized it's 8 o'clock. I'm so sorry. I'm glad you didn't answer. So I learned that I never missed business by not responding immediately. And the other thing I always say in this class is, if your unique value proposition is I'm available 24/7, then this might not work for you. That's your thing for your clients. It's not my thing. So I will often tell them at this point is say, or at some point in the consultation, my typical schedule is about 8:30 to 9 until like 5:36. I typically put my phone away and focus on my family after that. So I just want you to know that I'm not ignoring you. I just kind of do that. However, if we're negotiating a contract, I will go past those hours, because that's just stressful to not know one way or the other. However, if by like 8 o'clock we haven't gotten an answer back from the agent or the client, then I'll probably let you know. Still haven't heard anything. I'm kind of wrapping up for the night. I'll be checking first thing in the morning. I even go so far as if I am at home and am working at 7 or 8 o'clock, I just save all those emails or schedule them to go out at 8:30 in the morning. That way I am sticking to what I said was my rule. I don't work past 5:30 or 6, and you'll hear from me 8:30 in the morning. That way I'm not confusing them when I've explained to them my system. Okay. So that's how methodical I've had to get, because I can have 5 or 6 buyers in the same week, like all wanting me on their schedule. And it would be like, I'd be out of the business if I had not been that controlled. So it's a future plan that I'm telling y'all about. You'll probably appreciate. Right now, you might jump because you only have one buyer, a month. When you get to 5 or 6 a week, because you're awesome, you're going to be glad you know that it's okay to control that. Okay. Next one. We just answered the question, so you don't need to have that question again. What is prompting your move? I like that question. I kept it. I changed, when do you need to be in your new home? I have, when do you need to move into your new home? Something about that makes them picture a more specific answer. So that when I changed that question, it went from spring of 2021 to June 30th of 2021. So then I would be able to say, okay, great. Then if you need to be moving in your home on the weekend of June 31, then we need to be under contract by May 15th. So I would help them back into that and then say, with this inventory, if it takes X or Y time, then let's get out there and start looking sooner, right? So that is important about the date to move in. All right, next question. I put this all in one, which is, are you pre-approved for a mortgage? But I wanted to ask more questions. One was, are you familiar with the difference between closing costs and your down payment? And I have a statement that says, when we consult, be prepared to know which is more important to your family, either a low mortgage or closing cost assistance. Now you're gonna talk more about that in your consultation, but I have it in writing to make them think about it, because then they'll write, I have no idea what you just said. I'm gonna need to talk more about this. So again, it lets me know their level of expertise in buying homes and to help them understand the strategy that we come up with, right? And if as I go through all this, guys, you're like, I don't know what Lynn's talking about, that's okay. You're new to the business, but don't work with any buyers until you know how to explain this, because then you'll be calling Joseph and probably having to cough up an earnest money. And I don't want you to do that. All right, next question. What is your price range? I ask, what is the source for that information? Do you know your monthly breakdown? And then, don't modify your credit in any way. So back to that whole, I think it's important to put in writing for them to separate between the two. They might be able to afford 400,000, but they also have, student loans. So they have to shave off 1,000 of their mortgage payment because they have this other debt, right? So you need to know that monthly breakdown, make sure they're thinking of the monthly breakdown. And that if they're getting a vendor, or they're getting their pre-approval from a loan officer, and it might be a more generic pre-approval, that loan officer might not be giving them the monthly breakdown. You need to know that, so that as we start looking at houses, they aren't all of a sudden surprised at, oh my gosh, this is going to cost me how much per month? So anyway, all that needs to get out in the beginning. Okay, that next question, if we found a home today, because I'm not consulting in the office before we hit the road, that just came off the buyer questionnaire. It didn't make any sense. But if you are consulting right before you go out, which isn't the greatest way to do it because you don't know that they've been pre-approved necessarily, but I just want to explain to you why I have the words not needed, because I'm not typically, I maybe have consulted twice on the same day I look at property. It's always at least a week or a couple of days before I even meet them or see them, okay? So again, I'm telling you again, look at your app, you brand yourself, make sure in your headers and footers that you have it somewhere. All right, next page. Who will be living in the home? Not important. Who else is spending more an occasional night? I always like to add that in. I do like that question because you have to remind them, you're about to move to the beach. You got a lot of overnight guests all of a sudden. Next question, not important. I don't need to know their lifestyle or what they enjoy doing at home. I don't need to ask them specifically about an office in the home. They're going to tell you that in the process. They'll say, I need 4 bedrooms because one is going to be an office. I don't waste the space on the question on this document, if that makes sense. Does your home need to accommodate any special needs? Again, I'm taking sentences out or questions out, that things that are going to come up. You don't have to ask somebody that if they have special needs or their children have special needs. That's part of their 5 must-haves. So some of these I'm striking, like I said in the beginning, great questions, but not necessarily need to take up space here. Okay, this next question, do you have any pets? That's more of a just getting to know you, like, are you dating scenario? You need to find out as a real estate agent. That's great if you have pets. Do you need a fence? And can it be put in post-closing? When I added the post-closing point, it changed from, yes, I need a fence. And then I was like, well, now I need to go back and say, remember when I asked you that question, it wasn't thorough enough. Can you have one put in post-closing? Because if I had to go search for houses with just fence, that really narrows the results. So reason for that thorough extra words, okay? Next few questions, I didn't find those relevant. It's just not important to the consultation. Sidebar is a lot of people will say, well, your consultation is building rapport. And I'm like, you're absolutely right. I build a ton of rapport when I talk to them. Keep in mind, this is something I send ahead of time. So I have to get them on the phone to build rapport. These are too many questions for a send ahead document. Let's say you don't send it ahead. You might have an 8-page version that stays with you when it's only in person, but I would say have a emailable version that's a lot more shrunk down. Okay, next one, location. I changed that. Oh, sorry. My headings, my categories basically were the who, what, when, where, and why, or, they were a lot more simple about, like, the who had to do with the people, the how had to do with financing, right? So I minimized how many different headings were there as well, so that I just save space. But anyway, instead of tell me about your ideal location, the better question is, are you familiar with Charleston and do you have a preferred area? What is your maximum commute time and distance? To me, you need to add to that from work or from the beach or airport. Again, you need to remind them, if they're retiring here, they might need to be reminded, oh yeah, I probably should think about the airport because my kids live in Colorado, so I want to go to the airport, whatever. Or if I have to go pick them up from the airport. All right. What is your work address? That's not important. You've already asked about a maximum commute time from work. Don't ask all that personal stuff. It's just too much. All right. So schools are important. Links to all school districts can be found here. I learned early on how to, and I did some of this scripting yesterday. I feel like I'm repeating myself, but I learned early on, I'm a real estate agent and I'm not a tour guide and I'm not the Chamber of Commerce and I'm not a lawyer and I'm not an inspector. So knowing all of that, I have to start off the consultation setting proper expectations of what is my expertise and what is not. And so as it relates to school districts, first, you're really not supposed to comment on any of them, right? But I don't like to be that, like, I can't, it's not legal, and everyone's awkward after that. What I'll say is, honestly, I don't have my finger on the pulse of everything that's going on with school districts, especially now with, COVID. So here's what I've done. If school districts are important to you, I've given you all the links to the different counties, so you can just start clicking. And if you find that one district is just not your preferred, or you find that one school is where you want to focus, I can do searches specifically in that area once we've determined that. However, I just don't want to pretend that I know everything and tell you things that could undercut your family. You're going to be the best guess of your children's needs. So that gets me out of having to know school districts and answer any questions along those lines. I go ahead and I've learned what their objections might be or what a big deal will be. And then I give them the resources to be their own researcher. And so part of that script, as it relates to what I am and what I'm not, is in this consultation, I will say, I have a team of experts. We all have our own wheelhouse. I am excellent at finding homes, negotiating, and getting you to closing. And then I have other excellent experts who are going to help you with inspecting the home and making sure your legal documents are all lined up. We're all going to work as a team. So if I don't know the answer, I will get one of those people on the phone and get the answer, and then we can keep moving forward. So I'm very confident in letting them know that anything that comes up, I will find the answer, but I don't know all of it. So just learn that and be comfortable knowing that you're already amazing being a real estate agent. You don't have to be everything else, okay? All right, is there a particular view you were seeking? What else is important about your location? Again, some of that to me was, hold on, I'm trying to, I can't see that this screen moved, so now I can't see. Hold on. All right, there we go. Okay, is there a particular view and what else is important about your location? Those things will come up. You don't need to have the question. All right, so now you see these last 4 bullets, things that are not in here that I think is very important and I added to my questionnaire. And that is, what addresses have you found online? Send those to me. That's happening right now. So let's go ahead and get those from them, because why would, if they already know their 3 target properties, let's get that done. Because let's say they send this back to you before you talk to them, then you have 3 properties, let's say, to go research, find out their showing instructions, and then you're educated to say, okay, you liked 1, 2, 3 main, blah, and blah. This one's a 24-hour notice, so we can't see it before, what is today? Wednesday, Tuesday, whatever. What is today? Tuesday? We can't see it before Thursday. So do you want to see all the others on Thursday? That kind of thing. Okay. Current home to sell. That's the question. Do you have a current home to sell? And if you do, is it on the market? And do you have an agent? Hey, if they don't have all of the above, then you are going to miraculously know an amazing Keller Williams agent in their area. And then maybe you can get a referral fee. Or if they're also hoping to sell in the area, that could be a double transaction. So let's find that out. Do you have a lease? And when does it, go up? And then are there other contingencies we need to discuss that I haven't at this point? So I added those questions in there somewhere as well. All right. Next page. Seriously, I don't know how to. There we go. All right. All of a sudden it's frozen on me. There we go. Okie dokie. Buyer needs analysis, next page, page 4 of 8. Again, I'm asking you to figure out what your headings are going to be. So maybe you don't need like 7 different headings, right? Just save space. All right. So this page had a lot of strikes. There are only a few things that I think are super important as it relates to the house. First is this going to be a primary or secondary? And do you know the difference between a 4% and 6%? Okay, that's just a question. You want to know if they know the answer. Do you want new construction or resale? And do you want single family detached or attached? So that's all kind of 1 or 2 questions, right? Again, if you're not familiar with some of that, then you need to get with an agent to say, explain this to me. But when they ask you, I don't know the difference, what is it? Obviously, if you're buying the home as your primary, you're going to get a 4% tax rate. If you're buying it as a second home, that tax is going to triple. It says 4 and 6, but it triples. So you need to make sure they understand that as you go through the consultation. Then, again, I just had a question like, do you really need structure, exterior, whatever? Very important is minimum and maximum square footage. Approximately what is your minimum or maximum square footage? I realized having that conversation, they don't think about it. And I learned walking through houses that if I didn't make a question, I was going to waste a lot of time, because when they'll be like, explain to me more what you mean. I said, well, for instance, are you living in a 1,500 square foot place and you're about to kill everyone? Then we probably want to start 1,600 or 1,700, right? Or if you're living in a 3,000 square foot home and you're sick of cleaning everything, then we need to cap it at, let's say, 2,200 square feet. So then they're like, oh yeah, good point. So that's an important question, super detailed. It helps you bring in the footprint of the house, so that when you walk through properties, they're not like, this is way too small. If you just ask that question, you probably wouldn't even been in that house. Okay, jump down to the next, obviously strike all the rest. I feel like making sure they understand that they're moving to a place that has year-round comfortable weather. But I always laugh and say, our state bird is a mosquito. So I will say to them, I'm going to put in your criteria a screen porch if you're okay with that. Everybody loves a deck and everybody loves a balcony, but in this area, you're going to want a screen porch during a big portion of the year. So that's helping me educate them about their region, right? So I add that just to help prompt me to talk about that. Okay. What I've learned about is that in the garage, they only care if it's attached or detached, number of bays, and that's really it. Or they'll say, I don't care about a garage. So I have to make sure that they give me the answer, whether it needs to be attached or detached and how many number of bays. That will make or break a home search in this area, because a lot of people convert their garages back to square footage. So, all right, next two I struck. Last one has become the new question, which is, are amenities important to you? Clearly, y'all know or might be familiar with how much development is happening, and there are now probably an equal amount of neighborhoods that are never going to have amenities as there are homes with amenities. So going back to that earlier question where it was like, hey, send me the properties you've been seeing online. So they're setting up all their searches, right? They're doing all their online stuff. When you consult with them, if they say it has to be greater than 1,500 square feet and I have to have a neighborhood pool, you're going to want this stuff written down and understood, because 3 weeks or 2 weeks later, you're going to look at a few houses, let's say, but then all of a sudden you're going to get a text from them that's going to say, this just popped up on my Zillow search, but not on your search. Why not? And then you have to be like, okay, send me the address. Let me go see why. And then you'll be able to say, oh, because that search is in a neighborhood that does not have amenities. And our consultation, you said a non-negotiable was a neighborhood pool. Now we can tweak your search. I can take the pool out. I just want you to understand why you didn't get it from me. Mine is so specific to you. Keep your broad ones, keep doing whatever. But as you see these discrepancies, understand it's because we consulted so thoroughly. Same thing with the 1,500 square feet houses or whatever. They might have seen a house, but didn't go think to look at the square footage. So then I'll just say, all right, well, this one is 1,555, and you said we had to start at 1,650. Do you still want to go see it and just see how they use the space? Or do we just weed it out because it's like non-negotiable, nothing under 1,650? So that's how you continue to consult with them throughout the process, because this is going to become your like centering document. And on my first tour with everyone, I take this with me and I'll say, all right, well, you like this house, but you said something here. Do you want to tweak that? I constantly bring them back to this document because again, I'm detail oriented. I have legal background, and I like having a guide in front of me so I don't have to remember it. Are you kidding me? I couldn't remember what day it was. So I have to have something where it's all written down so that if I have 5 buyers in 1 week, I don't have to remember that Joe wants 1,500. I just go read, you needed more than 1,500. So that's just some advice. Try to keep as good a files on these people as possible. And that's what this document's for. Okay. Some things to add. If you want to, you can just write these notes down and go do the research later. Go Google Chamber of Commerce's all over the city, add some of their links, some virtual maps, some interactive things, things you can add to yours that someone else has already done all the work. Have at it. Crime stats or websites or police departments. You know, if you do have some of those questions about crime, you're really not allowed to talk about that either. So what I say is, I feel like there's always the potential all over Charleston now, just because of the way Charleston was built. You have transitioning neighborhoods really everywhere. So the best source for you to be super comfortable are the crime stats I've put on your questionnaire, or the websites for the police departments. I would call them, reach out to them and get that information. And if they keep pushing you, then just you say, well, I'm technically could lose my license for talking about it. So we could just moving on, idiot. No, I'm kidding. But you can just say, you know, we're just going to have to move on from that. If you want to put local maps, whatever, you can do all of that. I'm giving you bullets of good ideas of how to make your questionnaire do the heavy lifting for you. Again, if you have testimonials at this point, link them. We have, you know, click here for our Zillow reviews, click here for our realtor.com reviews. I don't even know who got those. I think Joseph had all that linked up. Y'all know I'm not good with it, but we do have links to our testimonials. I've seen some people just have quoted people. That's fantastic too. All right, next page. Literally struck the whole page except for the 3 you see, because I've learned what really makes or break a house's criteria for a client: bedrooms, bathrooms, and then garages, price point, location. That's literally what it boils down to. So all these questions to me took up way too much space, and there was a potential of, if they answer you, what are your needs for each of the bathrooms? I always joke on this. I don't want to know that. But let's say you say, what features have to be in your kitchen? And they give you 7 different options, then they're expecting you to bring them all of those options. That's a dangerous, slippery slope. So I keep it super general. What are the basics? Like architecture, all that stuff. If someone says, I literally will not buy a house that has stucco siding, then you know to remove stucco siding, but let them bring that to you, because typically it's because of an experience. in my opinion, don't borrow from tomorrow and give them nitpicky things that they haven't thought of on their own. Take those questions out. All right. And then this is my favorite question. This wraps all of this up. What do you currently love about your home that you want to duplicate? And what do you currently hate about your home that you really don't want to repeat? Then you get the details, and it's not 17 questions and 2 pages later, you know? All right, next page. What is it about this? Sorry, I'm trying to. I told y'all that I'm just not very good at this. All right, hold on. I don't know what's going on. All right, we covered that. We covered that. All right. Buyer needs analysis, page 6 and 7. All right. Struck everything. Again, I covered everything before. What do you love and what do you hate? Then the most important thing is 5 must-haves. I delete all that other stuff and I just have what are the top 5 things that your home must have. If you wanted to, you could add a couple of lists, like, is that a fireplace? Is that the bedroom count? Is that the location? But in my opinion, I just have, what are your 5 must-haves? Most people get what I'm saying. So we've spent all this time chatting on the previous pages, but this is bringing it down to the final, like, brass knuckles of it, right? Or brass tacks of it. Okay, all this we've already covered. This is something I added because this was so important to me. Back to building rapport. I have my own way of doing it. I'm not really a frilly person, but I'm, funny, I'm sarcastic, I make people comfortable. So, and I also say that in this class, my dream job was was whatever, not anymore, family counselor or marriage counselor. And when I got into real estate, it was just because I wanted to do that with Joseph in the beginning while we, were newlyweds, and then I'd go back to school. And then a year of doing real estate, I was like, I am a marriage counselor already. I am becoming a family counselor. So this job has tapped into a passion of mine that I didn't expect. So I'm really good at building rapport because it comes to me naturally, just asking questions and learning about people. So I want to tell you all that simply because if it doesn't come naturally to you, then some of these questions you just might want to keep, because if not, you might become too clinical, right? But while I'm asking questions and getting their brass tacks of the house, I'm also building good rapport. But the most important thing I always end with is our relationship. I need to know their emotional baggage, so to speak, because I say, have you worked with an agent before? Have you bought in South Carolina before? What did you like or not like about that process? Most important thing about our relationship, I should know. And what should I know about you that I have not asked? At the end of those questions, I know that I might be dealing with someone who had a terrible experience with an agent. So then I know, I bet they're not going to sign a buyer agency, and it's up to me to redeem that process, not cram it down their throats, be a human about the conversation. So that's important about that series of questions for me. Take it, add it to it. And if you have a certain passion of things, you should add that as well, just how I do it. Okay, last page. This document is in my post-consult email. Remember when I said I loved everything in these documents, but they didn't all stay in the same place? I realized that I didn't necessarily want to talk to them in this questionnaire. I wanted the questionnaire to be kind of short and succinct in a series of questions. So then I thought, well, that's great verbiage. That's now going to be part of my post-consultation email. So my questionnaire ends on this page in this document, but this I cut and pasted and moved it out. So there you go as you work with your edits of your own document. Okay, that's that one. We're going to move. The buyer guide is like this. They're like maybe 3 edits. So we're almost done. Any questions on any of this before we get started? Because that's what I'm here to do, answer questions. No? All right. Last document, the buyer guide. And this is going to be quick because this is the one, my notes, hold on, that I loved it. I thought it was really good. All right, wait a minute. Sorry, y'all. I have like 32 things up. I'll get there eventually. Okay. That's weird. All right. This may not be perfect, but you'll still get to see it. All right. Hopefully everyone is seeing a guide to buying your home. Okay. Your brand, again, just keep reminding you to put your brand down. Not a big change. All right. It's all about you. This whole page got cut and moved to my buyer questionnaire. So my buyer questionnaire has a section. Now it doesn't take a whole page. And I'm going to flip through my buyer questionnaire in a minute. I liked the verbiage. I didn't want it in the guide because remember I told y'all that I wanted my questionnaire to be about me and to be about the client. And then I wanted the guide to be about just buying a house. So that's why I moved it. I'm just telling y'all the method to my madness. You don't have to, but that's my deal. Same thing with here, what you get from me. And I basically have on my questionnaire, what do I pay if I hire Lynn as my real estate agent? $0. What does Lynn do for me? And I list all this. So again, my questionnaire is a little salesy, but it uses this verbiage and I liked it. Okay, over here. So this is technically where my buyer guide starts, right here. And I, again, decreased the font, made the spacing a lot more compact. I also changed the colors to green and black because our logo is black and green, you know, so I changed the font to match mine. So you can personalize it, but I didn't really mess with anything other than that. I just changed the size and the spacing. I liked all the verbiage. Next. Oh, again, I'm just saying, move things up. Okay. Next page. This paragraph gets modified because I didn't want anything in writing where I was acting like a lender. So what I said is the lender is going to ask you about income, taxes, debt, assets, etc. Be prepared to send them things when they ask of you. That's again, me staying true to I'm a real estate agent, not a loan officer. So I took anything out that made me sound like I knew the numbers. Okay, next page. This is the only edit I made because South Carolina is an attorney state, but most people are familiar with the title company. So I just, created a bracket just to say, hey, title company and attorney is all going to be under the same roof. South Carolina is an attorney state. So that's the edit I made there. Same way down here, that word became attorney because they now wire their checks or make them out to the attorney. They don't send them to us anymore or Keller Williams. All right, closing 101. I deleted this sentence because that's no longer accurate. A certified check or wiring. And then I deleted insurance binder, social security, and addresses. All that stuff the attorney now gets ahead of the closing. So just take it out and all they're going to need to know, all they're really going to need to have are this amount of money, and their photo ID. So again, just made that a little bit more accurate. Let's see, at the end of the closing. Okay, this is my way of saying, again, this is the attorney's job. I don't know what they're going to do. Call them if you need it. Uh-oh. I don't know who's making that line. Is that me making that line? So the deed will be taken and recorded at the county clerk's office. This is the attorney's job. That's basically all I say on that. Okay, frequently asked questions. I liked all of them. I didn't get rid of any of them. However, I added my own, like what happens to my earnest money, ? And then I answer in 2 or 3 sentences. Then what is the difference between repair procedure, due diligence, and as is? I put a little explanation in there. Here's a good tactic. If you read that right now and you're like, I don't know the difference, the best way you learn something is teaching it, right? So go get the answers and see if you can write it out to explain it to someone, and then you know how to explain it to someone. But anyway, I added a few that I wanted to be touched on so that when we talked, if they are thorough readers, they'd be like, hey, I saw something in that frequently asked questions about X, Y, or Z. Can we talk about that? I just started paying attention to what ended up being a repeat question. And here's another thing to think about. So you might be tied up with clients and you've sent some of this stuff with a lot of good answers, a lot of good questions that you've answered for them, they're going to forget stuff. And that's part of my consultation too, is I say to them, hey, guess what, guys, the buyers, I'm going to tell you all this. We're going to consult and you go wake up tomorrow and probably forget 8 of the 10 details. Good news is I'm not. This is my job. I do it all day long. I won't forget anything. You cannot ask me any question too often. There's a lot coming at you. However, the point of these resources is I have some things in writing so that you, if I am tied up and you need something, I might point you back in the direction of, like sometimes I will respond to like if I get a text and I'm with a client in a house and it's like, you know, what is the earnest money deal again? I'll write in the back to say, go find my buyer guide. There's an answer there. I'm with clients. I'm so sorry. I'll call you later. So it's one of those things where you can let them know that they have what they need in the resources you've sent. So you're staying in touch. You're not ignoring them, but you're pointing them back to these resources. So that's another thing to think about for frequently asked questions. If you wanted to add just some other like cheat sheet notes for them to always be able to go reference. Okay. The about me, again, you see my note down here. I moved to the buyer questionnaire. I didn't want the guide to be about me. All of this stuff right here, you can keep or not keep. It's totally up to you. The above and beyond, if you notice, it talks about here's who I work with. I created a whole separate document because mine has been growing for 12 years. But in your guide, if you want to put your 3 or 4 people, because you may not need a whole document yet, this is where you would put it. It's a great spot. Office stats. And then what's ahead. So Jennifer, a little bit back to your question. This became part of my post-consult email. To assist you, here's what I'm going to do. And then I then have, I think that's the last one. Yeah. So then there's here's what I'm going to do. And then part of it is here's what you're supposed to be doing. That's where I go modify their homework for whatever we just talked about. So that's the guide. That is basically it. And if you want to hang tight with me just a few more minutes, I'll pull up my actual Saltmarsh Properties one and show you a little bit about what mine looks like so you can kind of visualize.
Miss Lynn,
Yeah.
can we, and I'm sorry, because I'm at work and trying to keep up. It's really slow at work, so I'm able to kind of to tune in. But the one part you said, I missed it. You kind of went fast on me there with the title and the attorney, that page, process of funding.
Yes. You're asking what the edits were.
Right.
Okay. Let me go back and pull that up. Can you see it?
No, I just see the Saltmarsh Properties now.
All right. Hold on. My notes, buyer guide. Hold 2 seconds. Here we go. Right there.
Keep going up.
One more.
Yeah, the process of funding where you, right there, right there. That's what I need.
Oh, process of funding. I see. Yeah. So right here, I just found where they had just listed the title company and just made sure I added attorney. So they would always keep seeing the word attorney. All right. Is that good?
That's good. Thanks.
All right. Anybody, sorry, I apologize. I X'd out. Anybody else have any questions on this before I wrap up? I'm not wrap up, but go show you the stuff that y'all were asking about. No? Okay. All right. Now I'm going to show you my questionnaire, and then I'm going to show y'all a preview of my email so you know what it is you'll get from me when you've done your homework as a good pupil. Okay. So here's my questionnaire. I don't ever send it to anybody because, like I said, I've really scaled it back. So it's just, you know, I'd rather you go through the class, be more thorough, than learn your style than mine. Mine's really streamlined. So here's basically my information, right? And all this right here you're seeing is the stuff I just said. I moved it out of the questionnaire out of the guide into this. I liked it. I just wanted it somewhere else. Then I took a minute to explain to them about us. And then here are our links to our testimonials, which you can also just copy and paste. Here's where I had, what does hiring a buyer's agent actually mean? What does it cost me? And then that's how I kind of have some more explanations about things. And then this is everything we just went over in one page. The why, the location, the home, the financing, the client agent relationship. So you'll see where I just made everything literally line. And I don't have all of the questions in here because they're just in my head. But the one I just taught you is going to be perfect for you. So that's mine. I mean, it's 4 pages. So I'm telling you, I made it really succinct because I didn't want them to be overwhelmed. All right, now I got to figure out how to get out of here. Stop share. There we go. Now I'll show you my emails. Give me 2 seconds. This is what you're going to get from me. Pre-consult email. So I'll basically send you a link to this that's going to let you view it. You won't be able to edit it, but you'll be able to view it. And basically, hopefully can y'all see buyer resale right there? Okay. So this is what I do. I did this for myself, and because of, remember I told you how to do an operations manual for Saltmarsh Properties. I had to be able to tell people what we do if Joseph and I got hit by a bus, or better case scenario, we decide to sail around the world and we hire people to run Saltmarsh. They know what to do. And that's also why we named our team Saltmarsh, because first of all, have you seen our last name? It's hard for people to spell and say. But secondly, I wanted it to be where if we ever were to hire or leave and be on vacation or something, they weren't looking for a Closic, they were looking for a Saltmarsh property team. That was just some advice that someone gave us years ago. So we just started our brand that way. Anyway, this document, this is my pre-consult email templates. Here I have, it could be an internet lead, or it could be, sorry, that title's weird. So email number 1, it's the first email intro. Remember I told you all that. And then I have to myself, it's going from me to the buyer. It's CCing all buyers. These are my attachments. And then I copy paste. Now remember I told y'all I have, like, if you're renting, if I know they're not renting, that whole thing gets deleted. Okay. If they're local, if they're not local, that whole thing gets deleted. So that's why I say be smart. All right, buyer internet first email. On this one, because I might not have everything that I need, I have a link in here to a video of me introducing myself. So if it was an internet lead and all I had was their email, they got this, then they could click on the link. I ended up not having a ton of internet driven business. So I never became an expert at that, but I at least have a tool to use in those few times I did actually get whatever it's called, a internet lead. Okay, post consult. This is going to be like the ton of emails that you get from me. Email number 2, buyer second email post consult. We just talked about that. Basically, this is all, a lot of that's coming from the whatever, one of those documents we just went over. So Jennifer, going back to your question. So what's next? Home hunting. Here's what I'll need from you as soon as possible. Now you'll notice that I have things in italics. That's going to be their homework. Then here's what I'm going to do for you, right? To recap what you're working on. You know, I've talked to them about their earnest money to make sure you have that money sitting in an account. Obtain a pre-approval. Provide me your schedule. Do not change your job, buy any large item, blah, blah, blah. So that's kind of the homework that's standard. But if there's something different that came up with consultation, their consultation, then that gets added. Let's say their house is on the market. Let's say their house is on the market, and then part of the consultation might be like, well, we can't write an offer till you're probably through inspections because no one's going to take that right now. So I might add a bullet in here that says a blacked out copy of your contract showing you're through inspections. You know what I'm saying? It could be very particular to them. All right. So then email number 3. So this whole, like, you're going to get all of this. Y'all got 14 pages, but I did like basically email number 8. This goes, and it's called Rounding the Corner. It goes to the listing agent and it says, all right, we scheduled it for this. Buyer is doing this. Our final walkthrough is this. You know, I also have the inspection's been set. So this is what I said. I send the same dang emails 100 times a week. Just make it now, copy and paste. And then, oh, and one thing I want to point out, if you're on a team, you might have a transaction coordinator. So there's your salutation. But if you don't, you need to delete that paragraph, obviously, because you're going to start with, I am the agent handling all this. So I've tried to think through everything on all these emails so someone could use them for all portions. And then that's pretty much it. Like I just want to, oh, I do a weekly check-in. So let me give you this advice. You're going to get to the point where you're really busy and you don't remember everything that's going on. And if you're like me, you might enjoy wine on the weekends. So you wake up on Monday and you might be like, I had some wine and I don't remember exactly where everything is. So what I did is I started doing a Monday check-in with everyone that got emailed, because if I could go back to my past Monday or past Friday emails, I could go read everyone I sent an email to saying, here's what we just completed. Here's what we're focusing on this coming week. That kept me never missing a detail. So I would just be very on point about, before I wrap up my work week on a Friday, I send something, or on a Monday, then I can go to my sent items, sort, and then figure out where I left off with that specific buyer. So that's why I have a weekly check-in. It's really to help streamline me. And I think to myself, if I'm having a hard time remembering them, I wonder, you know, maybe make sure the loan officer and the attorneys are doing what they're supposed to be doing. So your job as a real estate agent is to try and prevent as much stress as possible for your client. So don't rely on a loan officer to be better than you. Expect them to be worse. Do not rely on an attorney to be better than you. Expect them to be less. And if you do these check-ins, everyone's responding, oh yeah, you know what? I didn't get the earnest money, or I didn't get it in the mail. Maybe we need to, so everyone starts talking about what their file needs. You started it off, you're gonna be the hero. Okay, I have covered everything in this class, and I've told y'all it would be a lot, but hopefully it's been beneficial. So now I'm through sharing the screen. You know what your homework is. Tell me if I told you about an hour and a half. I'm right on point. So now I will pipe down for any questions, or if you want me to repeat scripts or anything like that, I'm happy to do that. Or tell me how awesome I am. Just kidding. Everyone's good? Does anybody want to share any ahas, something that was good that someone else might benefit from you repeating? Okay, Sarah says, thank you. You're welcome. All right, well, if no one needs anything, it's been a long hour and a half, y'all, and I'm really sorry, but I want to give you as much as possible so then you can go be thorough with your buyers. And have somewhere to start. Then you're going to send me your homework, those 2 documents. I want to see it edited with your brand. The minute I get that and I feel like it looks good and professional, you'll get those emails from me and you're going to rock it. So if y'all need me, my email, everything you have, don't hesitate to reach out to me. I love buyers. I'm good at them. I probably have been through every problem they can present. So call me. I'll help you troubleshoot. Do you have a tool that you use for the monthly breakdown? Nope. The tool is called the lender. Back to the whole, I hand all that stuff off to the lender. There are a lot of agents out there, though, who use a mortgage calculator. I will not say don't do it. It's not what I do. I like to keep it with, that's a loan officer question, and then it's off of me because I'm doing enough. I'm going to let the loan officer. So there's my answer, but I know there are other agents in the office. So if you're on the Facebook page, maybe go when we run into offers on the weekend. Here's my opinion on that second follow-up question. If you've consulted earlier in the week, you should have that information because they're not writing offers without that pre-approval. So, Sarah, if you want to call me separately, because the blanket is that information of the breakdown should already be understood before they write offers. But if you mean, well, when I'm writing an offer, what if we want to get creative with stuff? First, loan officers work on the weekend too. That's part of their industry. So make sure you say to the loan officer, be prepared for me to call you. However, if you want to get creative with financing, like I'll say up to 3% of closing cost, right? You know, you don't have to put a specific number. You can do a percentage as it relates to the standard, and then go from there. But I bother loan officers all weekend, every weekend, because if they want to get paid and included, they're going to work when I am. So don't be scared to do that. But if I didn't answer your question properly, set up a time with me. We'll chat and I'll help you work through that. Okie dokie. Anything else y'all need? You know where to find me.
One question, Ms. Lynn. This is Molly. As far as the editable pages for the clients, are you using like pages from MacBook, and will that open up for them? Or are you doing like converting it to PDF?
Yes, I think I used to do a Microsoft Word document, and then I have this Mac now, which I actually really don't love. I miss my PC, but I used to send them a Microsoft Word, but then I converted it to a Pages. The formatting, because I'm OCD, drives me crazy. But what I learned to do is just let go of it, and they can see the questions and they can answer it. And then what I try to do is send them the editable one, and then my pretty PDF that is like all perfectly stagnant, you know, so I can say, you can either print this out and use it or write it inside this. I always want them to have an editable one, because when I used to get just an email back with paragraphs, and I was like, they're missing questions. So that's why I turned it into a document they typed into. So a lot of people are really good at technology and send, you know, PDFs that they can type into and all of that. I'm not very good at it. But no matter what, this class is for you to have this tool. But I don't do anything until I consult with them. So worst case scenario, I just write their answers down on my form and just scan it into me and save it in their file, if that makes sense. So you can get around it no matter what.
Okay.
So you can send them a couple of different options and just make sure you have a master one that helps you as you walk through houses. Does that answer your question?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. And everyone who needs, I keep saying this because I'm not kidding. Call me if I didn't cover something, or if you have if you have certain questions that keep coming up and I didn't cover them. I can promise you I've answered the questions. So just call me if you need me. Anything else? No? All right. Well, good luck, guys. I think a couple of y'all have some appointments this week, so keep me posted on how they go. And if you want to do this again, it's recorded, as well as I do it every month. So if you want to come back in a month and tweak it, I'll be here. All right, y'all have a good day. I'll talk to you soon.